And guys, in this next news story, an organised crime group, a violent one, who formed £1 million drugs network, are due to be sentenced this week after pleading guilty to offences at Hull Crown Court. The 8 men appeared at Hull Crown Court just the other day after being charged with a series of offences following their involvement in drugs and violent crime whilst making an estimated £1 million over a 4-month period. 7 of them pleaded guilty during that appearance, with an 8th pleading guilty just the other day. An investigation was launched in January 2023 after police received reports from members of the public of people stealing motor vehicles and committing burglaries across Grimsby and Scunthorpe. Following these reports, a team of experienced detectives later identified that this formed part of an organised crime group who were involved in the supply of Class A and B drugs, leading to a spate of antisocial behaviour and violent crime. Monday, February the 6th, 2023, eagle-eyed officers spotted a vehicle parked in Grimsby which had made off from officers earlier in the evening and was being driven on false registration plates. Officers approached the vehicle and the driver made off. Following a short pursuit, the occupants of the vehicle were detained, one of them being Gallagher, who was subsequently arrested on suspicion of aggravated burglary. Gallagher was later released from custody on bail whilst officers continued with their investigation. After seizing his mobile phone, through phone data analysis, detectives uncovered an organised crime group who had documented their extensive, serious and organised criminality through Snapchat. Through the intelligence gathered, including messages, videos, images and audio notes, it showed that the group were involved in targeting cannabis grows which had been set up by other organised crime groups. As part of this, the group would break into the premises armed with baseball bats while making threats and assaulting the occupants. On one occasion, the gang would disguise themselves and trick the occupants into believing they were police officers carrying out a raid on the property. It was also identified that the gang used a thermal imaging device to locate heat sources within the properties which indicated that the property was potentially being used to cultivate cannabis. Following these inquiries, it was discovered that the organised crime group had divided Scunthorpe into 3 areas: Town, Ashby and Westcliff, with a dedicated drug line being used to service each area and each drug line being under the control of each of the principal members. As detectives continued to build a bigger picture about the organised drugs network, a number of arrests were made, and on Tuesday 23rd of May an arrest phase was conducted and the 8 men were arrested and charged in connection with the offences and were all subsequently remanded in custody. Following a 2-day trial at Hull Crown Court, Keaton entered a guilty plea, and he, alongside Gallagher, Pollock, Rhodes, Lowther, Haynes, Cooling and Hemsworth, are now going to be sentenced on Thursday the 9th of May at Hull Crown Court. Divisional Commander, Chief Superintendent Paul French said this was a lengthy investigation into an organised crime group who went to great lengths to distribute drugs and commit crime within our communities. It was identified that the group used the social media platform Snapchat to arrange and facilitate the criminality, and that they shared messages and videos, images and audio notes with each other as they prepared to carry out the burglaries, prepared the crops and celebrated their success. These messages, videos and audio notes provided significant evidence that the organised crime group were involved in the taxing of cannabis growers and allowed us to bring these violent criminals to justice. We have prevented significant amounts of drugs from being sold on the streets of Scunthorpe and the associated crime and antisocial behaviour that goes with this kind of offending. This organised crime group was made up of dangerous, violent individuals, and I'm pleased that these men are being punished for their actions, and I hope it sends a clear message to those who think that they can get away with committing crime in our force. I'd also like to thank the public for their assistance by telling us about what was going on in the area, which helps inform part of our investigation and creates a bigger picture. Through the hard work and dedication of our specialist teams, with the local support of local communities, we hold offenders to account, making the towns and villages of northern Lincolnshire safer and stronger. And guys, in this next news story, coming from Birmingham ways, and a rapper has been revealed in court as a mastermind behind a massive Class A drugs conspiracy, with the line going from Birmingham to Scotland. Stardom, whose real name is Ricardo Reed, was identified as the gang boss of a Flash County Lines operation which supplied Class A drugs to users over in Aberdeen. He was once a promising footballer, and he was previously named as a member of the GSA gang. Back in 2021, he was performing at the Lavana Bar in the Arcadian when he was targeted by rival members of the Burger Bar. Also implicated within this situation was Joshua Nelson. He was described as Reed's general in the drug operation, and he also ran a separate supply racket via the Postal Service. Joshua Nelson had conducted his own research online by searching for which is the best place in the UK to supply Class A drugs and where are the highest drug users in the UK. The duo, alongside other men, Himesh Suri, Cree Dacres, Ian Massey, Michael Gardner, have all been sentenced. The prosecutor, Jeff Whelan, stated all the defendants fall to be sentenced as part of Operation Tiger. He revealed that this operation took place between 2017 and 2022 and added, over that period of years, all these guys conspired together to supply Class A drugs to Aberdeen. In summarising the case, the prosecutor stated that Reed, he was the boss of the operation, the head of the operation, the kingpin. He said he had a leading role in directing and facilitating the drug supply as part of the flash line. He was also involved in the proceeds of the enterprise and laundering the cash. He said his second in command had a leading role, and Imran Reed employed Gardner, who occasionally took control of the drugs phone line. You got Massey, who was dubbed as the manager in Aberdeen, his home city, where he played a significant role in drug distribution network. Following the arrival of the drugs from Birmingham, and Dacres acted as a courier, making approximately 9 trips between the two cities, while Suri took on the role as a street dealer. Prosecutors detailed over 40 events, including police raids and vehicle searches, that led to significant cash and drug hauls. All the defendants, except Gardner, were implicated in laundering the proceeds of the trafficking. And guys, in this next news story, an armed robber who threatened to kill a Dartford bank worker before later calling the police for advice has been jailed. Roy Sinclair threatened the employee with a knife before stealing discontinued £20 notes in February 2022. He went to a Lloyd's bank at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday the 4th of February and was seen by members of staff wandering around the building. When a cashier called to offer help, he walked behind the counter, pulled out a knife and demanded money and said, "No alarms or I will take your life." 2 days later, he handed himself in to Kent police and admitted robbery and possessing an offensive weapon in a public place. Sinclair was waiting for a bus to travel to Ebbsfleet police station when he called 999. The 43-year-old wanted to ask what advice they could give and how he was to best go about handing himself in. The control handler asked Sinclair to remain at the bus stop and officers were sent to pick him up. The hooded jumper he was wearing at the time of his arrest matched what he wore during the robbery, and officers also found a green pair of jogging bottoms he also wore at his home. Sinclair was arrested at Maidstone Crown Court. He had been given jail for 5 years and 4 months and would be given a 2-year extended licence when he's released from prison. Police Constable Emma Laneber from Kent Police said the victim of the case has every good reason to believe their life was in danger, and I'm pleased we have now secured justice for them. Although Sinclair admitted the offence, it does not in any way undo the harm he has caused, and the only proportionate outcome for him is to receive this custodial sentence. It's your boy GC. Keep it locked, keep it real.